Welcome to Junk Monkey Live. It's a place where we get together as resellers and shoot the breeze and talk about what's happening in the world of reselling. Uh, Now, normally I try to have a guest with us, but a little communication snafu caused us to have to reschedule tonight's uh, guest. So I'll be flying solo tonight. There's no telling what we'll end up talking about. Uh, Run some things by you guys for future shows, see what you think about it. I'm going to take these things off because I can't hear myself. But yeah, that's what's happening today. We're flying solo. I did have somebody lined up for us tonight, but like I said before, we had a little bit of a communication snafu, and so we've rescheduled tonight's guest. And I didn't know about this until about 2 hours ago. So all the notes that I had prepared for tonight's talk, well, we have to set those aside, and I got nothing. Throwback to last season when I was still just winging it every week. Hey Tina, how are you? Good to see you in here tonight. Brickley Pear 27. That's a new name for me. Good to see you. Glad to see you stop in. Uh, I was just explaining that our guest who was scheduled for tonight, we had a little bit of a communications breakdown, and so we've had to reschedule tonight's guest for a future date. So we're just going to wing it and ding it tonight, fly solo, and just do this one by the seat of my pants. The Variety Flipper is in the house. Good to see you. Glad to see you again, man. Oh, well, I would do that, but I kind of the notes are, a lot of them are questions to the guest who has a couple of specific specialties. So I kind of wanted to get that person's view on them. So we'll just set all that aside. We've got that one coming up. I think we rescheduled for the 21st. So on the 21st, tonight's guest will show up. And next week, I'm actually going to be on the road. Hopefully I have a good enough signal for us to do next week's show. And I've got a few other prospects for guests later on in the year. Pittsburgh, yeah, I worked my monkey butt off over the weekend. I had to put new brakes on my truck all the way around. I've still got to put 2 new tires on the back of it. I've got an appointment scheduled for that one. I'll let somebody else do that. I don't have the means to mount tires. But yeah, I put all new brakes, all 4 corners, put 2 new rotors on the front, 2 new drums on the back, and had to replace 1 wheel cylinder. So yeah, that was my weekend, was crawling around on my old rickety knees underneath the truck on the asphalt driveway, trying to get that thing roadworthy for a long trip. Yeah, a lot of bucks. Even just buying all the parts and materials I needed to do the work myself, I spent somewhere in the neighborhood of 500, give or take a little. I bought a couple of tools that I probably shouldn't have bought. I've been doing it the old school way for all my life, and I never had a brake tool. They got these fancy plier looking things with a hook, and never owned a pair. I've done it the redneck way all my life with a pair of needle nose vice grip pliers, and always did good. So I bought myself those tools thinking, nah, I'm going to do it the easy way this time. So I bought the tools. No, the old school ways work better. Lucky 19 T's. That is a new name for me, and thank you for coming in. Now, look, normally I have a guest, but tonight we had to reschedule, so it's just me tonight. And I've got a big trip coming up. We're going to Nebraska, which is not quite the end of the world, but if you climb up on a sheet of paper, you can see it from there, especially the part I'm going to. But no, my mother-in-law lives out there, and she's got a piece of property out there she needs some help with. So we're going to go out there and spend a couple of weeks visiting with her and helping her around her property. And on the way out there and on the way back, we're going to try to do a little thrifting and sourcing and looking around and maybe do a little camping. And it sounds like a lot, but we got 2 weeks to do it in. And right now, as the summer slowdown is hitting me really hard right now. So my sales have not been the best. And I pulled every trick in the book. I ended things, sales similar from those ended, edited them, changed up pictures, changed up descriptions and titles, and the sales are still super slow. I'm down about 20% for the last 31 days. Ping, good to see you tonight. So it's really a good time for me to go and do this. We'll put everything on vacation mode. And being that it's a 2 week trip, I don't think I'm going to leave sales turned on. I may edit that part 3 or 4 days before I get back. Yeah, I didn't. My sales haven't been horrible as far as the numbers go. They're still down even with the numbers, but I haven't made any big sales. But then again, I haven't been listing any big things. I have been making some finds. I've got 2 bags full of shoes that need a little bit of cleaning. I bought 2 watches last week. I bought a couple of solid gold watches that need to be refurbished. I've got one of them refurbished, just got to finish putting it back together. And the other one is a 2-hour job to completely refurbish it. But between the 2 watches, I spent $400, and I'll probably end up making $5,000 out of those 2 watches, gross. So I've got a lot of good stuff, and traditionally that really good stuff like solid gold watches, I save those for the fourth quarter for the holiday shoppers. And I have got tons of my smalls sitting around in bags and boxes that I can list in between. So I'll have plenty of work sitting in front of me when we get back from this trip. So, yeah, a Leatherman tool, I can actually see that. You don't really need a lot of tools to do it. Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to get the wheels off. And in the case of, I had to replace the rotors too. So the calipers and the caliper frame had to come loose, which was the hardest part of it. I aggravated my shoulder. I've got a bad shoulder injury that dates back for a couple of decades, but I'm fine. Take a couple of aspirin and a hot shower, and I'll be good to go in a couple of days. But yeah, it doesn't take a lot of tools to do a brake job. I just thought, you know what? I've got a few extra bucks in the bank. I'm going to get me some good tools. Matt, there he is. How you doing tonight, man? Bearded Poketober. I am flying solo tonight, brother. Been finding a few nice shoes lately, Matt. A few old school Jordans, stuff that they're in kind of sad state, but I've been able to sell them like that before as in need of refurbishing or restoration, and I got them cheap enough so they're good to go. JD, good to see you tonight, man. Get my other screen set up here. And tonight I was lucky. I was able to bring the other screen up with it already muted so it didn't interfere with my introduction, which wasn't a very good one tonight. There we go. Now I can see stuff. Matt, man, those things are not hard to pack up. But then again, I keep boxes and packing material in stock to do those things. I do 2 or 3 layers of bubble wrap long way, then 1 or 2 layers side to side, and drop it in an 18 by 12 by 7 box. Fill in with crushed paper, tape it up, and good to go. In fact, I sent one out this morning. I was just checking my stock, and I'm low on them. I normally have a couple of dozen units listed at any one time, and I'm down to 6 right now. And that's, I think, only 2 of them are combo units. The other 4 are VHS players. I had a sale just before we started the show. I sold a bag full of Bakugan pieces. The only reason I knew what those things were is because my daughter used to collect them when she was a kid. She still has a one of my old tackle boxes jam packed full of the things. That and Littlest Pet Shop. Let's see. Check the chat here. Make sure I'm not missing anybody. Uh, let's see. What else did I sell today? I know I sold something else earlier. Get in here and have a look. Had a couple of sales come in early this morning before I did my shipping. So, but since lunchtime, I've sold a pair of jeans and a pair and that bag of Bakugan toys. Yeah, Matt, that is key. I stock two sizes of box for VHS players and um, combo units. I do the 16 by 12 by 6 and the 18 by 12 by 6. Now there are a few units out there that you really need a 18 by 14, but the vast majority of those are older. They've got the metal housing on them. They're way heavier, and they don't sell as well. So I don't pick those up as often. But there are a couple of the combo units that are also DVD recorders that need that bigger box. So when I find one of those, I'll order like the smallest order of 18 by 14 by 6 boxes. But I keep them in stock. Hey, Christopher, how are you tonight, man? In fact, those boxes, those two sizes of boxes are directly below my shipping station where I do all my shipping. Now, one of the keys to those things, especially VHS players, the plastic housing ones are better than the metal housing ones for selling because they don't weigh as much, so the shipping isn't as bad. Yeah, you need to cut that box down, man. That might get you into a higher dimensional charge. And I keep a few boxes too from when I order larger stuff. Keeps me from having to go to U-Haul and spend $4 to $7 on a big box. So I had to go play around. I ended up having to go to YouTube to see how to put Poshmark on vacation mode. I've never had to do it before. I just started Poshmark in January, so the one I'm wearing, no, actually, it is a Citizen, and a fellow picker found it at the bins, and I gave him $10 for it. It's in really great shape. It's got the screw down crown and the screw down back and the diver style rotating bezel. And the reason I really wanted it is because it's a dive style watch with an orange face. And back in the day, one of my favorite authors was Clive Cussler, and he wrote the Dirk Pitt adventure series. And he always had an orange face Doxa dive watch in his stories. And it was based on a real watch that the author owned. And I've never been able to find a Doxa. And this one just kind of fell in my lap. I've got $10 plus a battery and a new strap invested in it. Hey, Denise, good to see you tonight. Um, Denise, those old pocket watches, the fit on the crystals are kind of weird. It depends on what style of watch it is, but the old glass pocket watch crystals were never perfectly round, and neither were the bezels that they fit in. I have to kind of fit them to the bezel myself. Hey, Lori, good to see you tonight. You'll be listening in the background. Yeah, I should. I've really backed off of listings, and I've actually gone through most of my draft bank because I'm getting ready to go on a long road trip and put my store on vacation, turn sales off the whole 9 yards. which is going to be fun getting that breathing life back into it when I get back. Yeah, that's going to require us. If you got the plastic one, you have to actually you need a special press to compress the crystal to bring the edges in evenly. Put the bezel down over it while you're holding pressure with the press, and then let it go, and it's held in by pressure. I think I have one of those presses right here. This is the tool that I use to do that with. And what we do is we take the cup, put it in the bottom, and then we take the plunger, put it in the top. Then I would put the crystal in here, put the bezel up over the plunger, press it down, bring the bezel down to the crystal, release the pressure, and then the crystal is mounted into the bezel. Um, Quite honestly, I don't like the plastic crystals. The vast majority of them stick up too high and they don't look right on the watches. I have thousands of new old stock, period correct glass crystals for pocket watches. Hey, Sarah, good to see you. I understand I missed a good show last night. What happened? Resembles, yeah, it's the for the majority of this thing, basically it's just a basic press, but it has special dies specifically made for installing watch crystals. Christopher, I might just do that. If I find something good, I'll make a reel and post it on Instagram. Cameron, there he is. Cameron, you snuck in on me, man. Good to see you tonight. Well, thank you, Tina. I appreciate that. Denise, the glass one was broken. I found it in my dad's stuff. Denise. Yeah, Denise, I have watches sent to me from all over the world, and I've never lost one that I shipped out, nor had one go missing on its way to me, with one exception, and it really only got hung up in California just south of me for about 4 days because the label itself actually sustained a little bit of damage and the barcode wasn't working, but the printed address still worked and it made its way to me. So if you want a chance at send it to me, I'll fix it for you. The Flippin' Sports Guys here. Thank you for coming in tonight. Yeah, Denise, I understand. I really do. Hey, Brett, how are you? Denise, what part of the country do you live in? If you live somewhere between Oregon and western Nebraska, I'm about to make a road trip. So if you wanted to meet me somewhere along my trip, you could hand it to me in person. Nicole, that's a new name for me. Thank you for coming in tonight. Glad to have you. For everybody that's coming in tonight, I did have a special guest scheduled for the night, but we had a little bit of a communications breakdown, and so we had to reschedule tonight's guest for the 21st. Um, I don't think I'll be going that far east. We're going to the panhandle of Nebraska. Let me see. I'm trying to remember the name of the town she lives in. Julian, how are you, brother? Oh, that's all right. Hey, man, I'm going to be on the road for the next 2 weeks. So it may be a couple of weeks before I get it done for you and get it back out to you. And speaking of the big yard sale, the 127, I'll do that, Julian. Just tell me you found some really good stuff and got some real good footage of it. That last sale brought me down to 18.1% short of last month or the previous month, however eBay does that. You did your best. Well, man, I've seen some of your best, and that's pretty good. Do a live what sold. Go grab these two items. Well, I'm not going to grab the jeans. They're in a poly bag. Where did I hide it? There it is. Bag full of Bakugan toys. A couple of them are not the little round balls that you roll across a magnet. I'm not sure what the stuff is. But I'll put it over here in the shipping department. Oh, you got it. Christopher's wanting to know if you do any flounder fishing and stripers. Down in Texas, we used to go to the bay on the Galveston Bay on the land side, and we'd go gigging for flounders at night. Take a lantern with us and a cooler. You have to put the cooler on a long rope and drag it behind you. You didn't want it too close to you because every once in a while sharks would come in there and they would attack the cooler. Kind of crazy. You're wading in knee-deep water. You wouldn't think you'd be in trouble of being attacked by a shark. Yeah, it's kind of hard to find time to go fishing when you work for yourself. I had somebody over the weekend, that same lot of Bakugan toys, they were wanting me to FedEx it to them overnight. And I'm like, there's no way I can get it out of southern Medford, Oregon, and get them to you overnight. They won't do it on a weekend. The best they can offer you is 2 or 3 day shipping. And but they agreed to it. And I looked it up. It was going to cost them $155 to send a 10 by 8 by 6 box that weighed 2 pounds overnight. So I think he had to find something else. And I don't know what my discount would have been, but yeah, $156. It was $155 and change. Now, I've shipped things overnight before through FedEx that actually cost more than that. But when the last time I had to ship something like that, it was one of the Rolex watches that I've sold this year. And it was to a guy who needed it as a wedding gift. So I overnighted it to him and I ate the cost on it. But when all was said and done, I made enough profit to account for that. But when you're selling, a $25, $30 box of plastic toys for, $160, there's no way I was going to eat that. Yeah, Christopher, but still 30% back of 160. or 155 is still way too much money to spend to get a box of toys overnighted. I hope the guy found something some other way. I never got a story on why he needed them so fast, but yeah, yeah, Tina, you're exactly right. All right, Julian, go get you some rest, man, and we'll talk to you soon. Yeah, Ping. And as a watch guy, I hear similar stories all the time. I'm going out of town in 3 days. I need it right now. I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. I'm 3 months backlogged on the bench. It's like, your lack of planning does not constitute an emergency on my part. Tina, it's a mixed lot, so I don't know that that's it either, unless there was one particular item in that lot. Let me see if I can share my screen and bring it up. Let me look at it, make sure it's not going to show the buyer's name or information. Let's see. Okay, here we go. There it is. Um, there's a couple of things like that thing. I have no idea what it is, but I know it belongs to Bakugan. And all the rest of them are fairly standard. A couple of weird things like that little item there. And there's a couple of triangle pyramid ones. But, unless there was one of the weird ones that he needed real bad for some specific reason, they're just run of the mill Bakugan as far as I can tell. But I don't know that much about them. So, yes, JD, I can. Through FedEx. Um, and I almost always send it FedEx. On some rare occasions, I won't, but I've been shipping high end watches for decades, and like I said, I've never lost one. As long as I put a priority or higher um, shipping label on it with tracking and some insurance, they tend to take a little better care of those packages. And in fact, I prefer to ship them because when I these days, especially when I do ship a Rolex, 9 times out of 10 it goes to the Rolex authenticity team or whatever they're called, the authenticators. Once they get it and verify that it is a real watch and that it matches my description, I'm free. They can no longer return it. If they do try to return it, they have to send it back to the authenticators. And if they've changed anything on the watch or they try to pull a fast one, I'm covered. But then again, the authenticators here recently have, um, well, they've gotten a little too big for their britches. They're that well. That's a story for a different day. I think I've already told it before. Get back over here on the other screen so I can keep up with the chat. There you go, Christopher. Remote control car for $95. That's a good sell. Hey, Emma, how are you? Or Emma and Allie's mom. I, for the life of me, cannot remember your name though. But thank you for being here. And you have to remind me what to call you again. Text me a few times before I get somebody's name right. But once I've got it right, I can usually hang on to it. Danny Sue, that's right. One of these days, I'm gonna put me a whiteboard just off screen here, and I'll keep everybody's names on it so I can look up and reference it. Right now, I don't have any place right here to put a whiteboard though. I need two or three whiteboards. I have one that I use for putting my measurements on for taking pictures of clothing. Uh, so it's not really a good idea for me to mount it because I move it around. But I need one that's got my schedule on it for these live shows, and I need another one just to keep track of stuff. I've actually started using the calendar in my phone to help me keep track of stuff. I used to keep a little notebook in my shirt pocket, but I don't always have a shirt pocket or a shirt with a pocket. So I end up laying it down somewhere, and then it's 3 months before I see my little notebook again. But I do keep a notepad close to hand for if I need to. If I know I'm going into town and there's things I need, I'll write myself a shopping list or a to-do list. Yeah, Tina, I like using the whiteboards for the measurements. I only have one, and I wipe it down and change it between shirts and pants. That's another reason I like doing them in batches. I'll take all the pants and I'll do them one day, and then another day I'll do all the shirts. That way, I'm not constantly having to erase most of the wording on my um, dry erase board. That way, all I have to do is erase the measurement side of it. And I've started putting my SKU number at the bottom, so it's in my pictures. That way, when I'm filling out the rest of the draft, polishing it off, I've got my SKU number right there, and I can put it in. I do my drafts. When I do a draft, I look the item up first before I even take the pictures, and I'll create the draft, save it for later, and I'll take my pictures, and then I'll upload the pictures to the draft and finish filling out all the particulars, especially with clothing. Yeah, Lori. Well, I was in the military, so we call it a wheel book, and it's just like one of those little wire-bound notebooks that's got the wire at the top. Just a little 2 inch by 3 inch or so little pocket notebook. And I just got accustomed to wearing one of those, and my uniform had a shirt pocket on it, so I had one on me at all times for 11 years. Carhartt, American Eagle, and Levi's. I've not been real good with selling of the Levi's. Occasionally I get a pair that'll sell, but most of the Levi's I get, they just sit. What I have had a lot of luck is the BKE brand of jeans. I've sold 4 or 5 pair of those in the past week. In fact, that's one of the pair that I got to ship out tomorrow night. Is a pair of the BKE jeans. And right now, the majority of the stuff I'm selling are bootcut or flared. Yeah, I do too, but I have found that the ones that say signature on them, they don't sell at all. You'll find sold comps, but they don't compare to. They're not good sold comps. I think you are right about that, Lori. The back to school thing is definitely kicking in. Now, like the vintage Levi's, they always do well, but over the last year or so, the prices have fallen awful. Even the vintage stuff. Good deal, Christopher. I love it when they pay quick. Men's jeans in general are hard for me to sell. I sell a lot more women's jeans than I do men's. In fact, these days when I go to the bins, the number one thing I look for in the clothing department are women's jeans. I run across a nice shirt of some kind, I'll take that too. But my primary search item is women's jeans. Let's see. Only do men's pants. Women's are harder to sell, at least for me. Um, I don't know. I, I'm 180 out from you. It's easier for me to sell women's jeans than it is to sell men's jeans. One of the reasons that's so is because I get women's jeans at a better price than I do men's as far as the ROI, where I can spend up to 10 or $12 on a pair of women's jeans because they're going to sell for 35. The same price point on men's jeans because they charge the same. They charge like $13 for a pair of men's jeans, and they only sell for 18 to 22. So I don't buy that many men's jeans. Anytime I've got men's jeans listed, it's because I found them in the bins. Yeah, and that is my primary selling platform for women's jeans is on clothing and shoes. I primarily sell them on Poshmark. I do cross list them to eBay, and I do get the occasional sell for them on eBay, but they sell faster for me on Poshmark, although I don't make as much profit. But I also have better seller protection for clothing items and shoes on Poshmark than I do eBay. So it's kind of the pros and cons kind of even out. Yeah, y'all let me know. Is the sound good? Audio cutting in and out. It must be my internet connection. Let me see if I can switch over to my other router, other channel on my router. Yeah, I'm down. That's my 5G channel. Okay, I'm trying to switch it over to my 2G channel, which has a. I'm betting my daughter is home and she just started in on her video game, online video gaming. Let me know if that cleared things up. There we go. Poshmark on vacation time. Um, Let me see if I can show you guys where I found it. And this is on PC. I'm not sure how you do it on the app. For your phone, I know it's different. Uh, it's under seller tools on the app. That's where it's at. Let's see. I will stop screen, percent, share screen, share screen. All right. Here we go. When you get to your closet, you just click on your avatar icon, whatever it is, your little drop menu. And on here, it's under account settings. And over on the left, if I can find where I find it, vacation hold right there. So it's your account info. It'll be the one, two, three, four, fifth thing down, which is right here. And you just turn it on and off. You don't have to schedule it. I don't know how that works on offers. If I have any, I'm not going to send out any offers this week. I'm not leaving till later on in the week. So no more offers this week, and I should be good to go. Danny Sue, I don't know what to tell you. I'm on Instagram. I'll show you what my Instagram account looks like. So you can find it. Let's see. That's what I look like on Instagram. So if you come here, you'll see my ugly face on there, and you'll see some videos of puppies, and then some occasional what solds. That's what my Instagram account looks like, and I will drop the link in the chat for you. There you go. You should be able to find me now. Harry Humstone, how are you tonight, man? Glad to see you could come by. My pleasure. I don't know if you heard it, but I am leaving town for a couple of weeks. So it may be uh, 3 or 4 weeks before I can get to any more repairs. I've got, I think, 2 or 3 repairs waiting for me on the bench, and I'll get those done before I leave town. But once I leave town, I'll be gone for a full 2 weeks, and I imagine I'm going to be swamped when I get back. Yeah, I love my IKEA bags. Really changed my game. I keep 3 or 4 of them in the truck at all times, and I use them. They switch out. I take them out of here when I do my shipping. I put all my shipping stuff in an IKEA bag, put that in the truck, and then when I go out sourcing, what I put everything in IKEA bags, bring them back here into the shop, and they're cheap. They work really well. I know they're like uh, they're kind of every reseller in the world uses them, but there's a reason we all use them. Ooh, sorry to hear that. Um, Wife and I had it, and it was kind of rough for about a week. One of your first Goodwill bins in August. That's it's kind of exciting. If you're going with somebody, y'all stay side by side. Use your carts on either side of you so you can block off your area of you don't have people reaching in front of you grabbing stuff. That kind of stuff makes me want to tell people they're going to draw back a bloody nub if they do it again. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ear. I bet if I thought about it, I could still recite the whole thing. Prickly Pear 27, Roman, where you at? I know he's in here somewhere. There he is. Hey, Roman, good to see you, man. Man, I'm having a pretty good turnout for tonight. I didn't even put a reel on Instagram that I was going live tonight, and I had to. Oh, something ain't working right over here. There we go. Now it's working. 18 people watching. So that's about on par lately. Went on a cruise. Yeah, going on those cruises, um, you always come back with something. Cruise ships are just, they're terrible about people showing up sick when they should have stayed home. There's a place in Arizona called Tucson, Arizona. But every spring and January and February, there's a huge rock, gem, and mineral show. And people from all, it's the world's largest rock, gem, and mineral show. People come from all over the globe. So they're bringing every little minor illness with them. And you just about cannot go there without catching what we call the Tucson crud. Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate that. Danielle. Where is Danielle? Annie Sue. Okay. Ping, Tucson is your hometown. Why in the world would you move to California from Tucson? Unless you like the beach. Yeah, I used to love going to Tucson for the Rock Gem and Mineral Show. And quite honestly, it's a great source for reselling those kind of things. Like the amethyst cathedrals, the big amethyst geodes and the tabletop ones. The tabletop ones they sell anywhere from 350 on up to north of $700, and in a brick and mortar they can be $1,200. Well, you can go to Tucson and you can buy an entire 4x8 tabletop full of them. Normally about a dozen of them for around $1,000. So you can flip those and make your money back on one or two of them if you don't mind shipping things like that. The crystal pyramids and the crystal towers and the crystal balls, all kind of little fossils and stuff. Great stuff for eBay fodder. And jewelry. There are a lot of jewelry dealers because Tucson is not just rocks, gems, and minerals. They take the gem part of that real seriously, and there are a lot of very high end jewelry manufacturers who show up there every year. Now, the big jewelry show in Tucson is over in another building, and you have to be a member to get in over there or work for somebody who's a member. Well, otherwise, you have to pay. I think like last time I went and I checked, it was like $45 for a non-member to get into the jewelry show. So I've been there since '85 or so. You've been there a little while then. Ever thought about going back to Tucson? I imagine it's changed a lot since your days there. Too hot, yeah. It does get warm. Even in January and February, it gets pretty warm there. So when I would leave here to go down to the Tucson show, there'd be snow on the ground here, and you'd get down there, and it's just miserable and nowhere near as hot as it gets in the summer. Roman, my sales have been really slow, but so has my listings. Getting ready to leave town, so I haven't been putting a whole lot of effort into getting my daily listings done. In fact, I've worked most of my draft bank. I think I have like three or four things in my draft bank that aren't ready for me to put. My sales have been slow, even before. That's just the past week. Even before that, I was pulling every trick in the book, listing every day, uh, ending sell similar, listing great items, great prices, and still my numbers are falling off. So yeah, that's that summer slowdown that everybody talks about. Yeah. Ping, once you get up over 100 degrees, I don't care if it's dry or wet, it's hot is hot. I did a jewelry show in Phoenix one year, and I think it was 113 degrees. And the resort we were at, they wouldn't let us pull our van around to the back, our van and trailer around, so we could unload close to where we were setting up. So we had to pull things out on the sidewalk out in the big parking lot and then drag it all around one building and into another building. And that was freaking miserable. That was the first and last time we ever did that show. These days, talking about heat, I spent a lot of years out in the deserts mining for gemstones and working in the heat. Down in Texas, working in the shipyards as welder. So I'm no stranger to working in the heat. The older I get, the less likely I am to even try to handle it. I imagine I could if something came up and I had to get out in the heat, but if I don't have to go out in the heat, I don't go out. Once it gets mid 90s, I'm staying my butt in the house. I pay a lot of money for the air conditioning in that house, and I'm going to enjoy so much. Yeah, Roma. Well, I'm from East Texas, so in the Houston area, it's one of the few places in the world where it can be 113 degrees, well over 90% humidity, and not a cloud in sight or breeze to be felt. And I've had people argue with me and tell me that's not possible. They don't understand is that most of the Houston area is below sea level, and at those kind of heats, the moisture's just coming up around you. It's pretty nasty. The good thing about Florida is you've got those offshore winds coming in almost constantly. The bad thing about the Gulf side, East Texas, Southeast Texas, uh, like I said, you can get all the heat, all the humidity, no breeze, no offshore breeze whatsoever, and that gets just by God. Yeah, in Florida, like I said, they've got those breezes, and you can almost set your watch by the 2 o'clock afternoon rain shower. So they get a lot of relief from that heat and that humidity. When I was a kid growing up in East Texas, we never had air conditioning. I mean, the closest thing to air conditioning we would have would be a box fan and a window. But when you're a kid, you're resilient anyway, and if you've never had it, you can't miss what you don't have. Yeah, when you get a drought in Florida, that can be miserable, especially when all those wetlands start drying up. They can smell bad, and you get a wildfire going at a time like that, it can be really bad. Yeah. Now, up here in Oregon, we have a area known as the Oregon Outback, and it's high desert, and it does get miserable hot, very intense sun out there. But the rest of the Pacific Northwest, people think of as very wet and cool. But the valley that I live in is called the Rogue Valley, is a microclimate. So we get the hot summer temperatures. We don't get the heavy rains, but we do get decent rain. But we also don't get the bad winter storms here. They tend to miss us more often than not. We'll get one or two snowstorms a year, and the rest of them go around us. A lot of our weather patterns have to do with ocean temperatures. Like if you have really hot South Atlantic temperatures, you pretty much bet it's going to be a very active hurricane season. However, if you have cool temperatures over there, but you've got hot temperatures in the South Pacific, then you get it affects weather patterns. And in general, it's about a 10-year cycle. La Nina and La Nino, or El Nino. How many of you have been on the 127 route lately for this big sale? I know Julian was in earlier. He just got home from it. Yeah, I bet. Growing up, I can remember the hurricanes, or even as a grown man, I can remember the hurricanes coming in. And the hurricanes, some of the bigger ones, um, like Katrina and Rita. Rita was even bigger than Katrina. I went through both of them. They'll come through, and the really big ones, the fours and fives, will come through, and the winds will do a lot of damage. But the big damages for flooding were always the tropical storms. I've been flooded out 4 or 5 times. 27 on the bucket list for next year. I have a bucket list of items that I want to find, not necessarily places I want to go, other than to go places and meet with people and go sourcing. Julian, I'd love to go to South Carolina and go out sourcing with him. Yeah, the big tropical storms, when they would roll in, a lot of times they just roll in and sit on you. And when you get 60 inches of rain in inside of a week, that's a lot of stinking water. And normally, what comes with it is a storm surge. So it's like having an ultra high tide that just comes in and washes out roads, and the water just keeps going inland. But at the same time, you got all the rain hitting the inland, and all the rivers are trying to bring the water down to the Gulf, and they can't overcompensate one or the other, so the water just rises. I've seen creeks rise 17, 18 feet straight up. When I worked in those shipyards I was talking about earlier, is oh, what was the name of that area? But if we knew a storm surge was coming, we had to get out of the area because we were on the Gulf side of the intercoastal um, shipping canal. So if there was a storm surge coming and you didn't get back across the canal in time, you would have to hunker down out there in the shipyards. And the shipyards were no more than 1 or 2 feet above sea level. Have I ever found high value? Yes, I have. Many years ago, before YouTube, I have one thrift store in particular. The manager would call me when she'd get watches in. Now she wouldn't hold them for me; she would have to put them out and keep from breaking the rules. But I've bought many a nice watch out of her cabinet, and they back in those days they had those flat rates. Every watch that went through there was $1.49. I bought several 18 karat gold watches. I bought a platinum watch, and I bought some very rare watches out of there, all for $1.49 a piece. You don't see that anymore, especially in this day and age where um, all the jewelry at most Goodwills, they set it aside and they've got somebody over there doing Google lens and looking it up or trying to, doing their best. And occasionally they will even come to my shop to get me to verify whether something is real or not. And I've yet to have them hand me a real high end watch. Yeah, I found the three LaCultra memo box watches at one time. Two of them were gold filled, and one of them was solid gold. The little ladies' dress watches, I found a lot of those in there at about 49 a piece. Which honestly, the vast majority of those I would scrap. I could get more money for the gold out of them than I could for the watch because people just don't buy. There's not very many collectors for ladies' watches out there. Now, if it's a Rolex, that's a kind of a different story. Even the Omegas will sell. But if you find something like a Cartier or anything that has Tiffany and Co.'s mark on it, those still sell very well. But your typical Bulova, Hamilton, Waltham, those kind of watches from the 40s and up, they really don't sell for anybody. Even the solid gold ones, you'll get more money for them selling them as scrap gold than you will as a watch. And speaking of scrap, I'm almost ready. I'll probably wait till we get back, but I have just over 2 kilograms, which is about 5 pounds of gold filled scrap. There's a difference between gold filled and gold plated. Gold plated, you have to have probably 100 pounds and pay a huge shipping fee and a huge assay fee or refining fee to get any amount of gold out of it that's worthwhile. But gold filled is actually different. They're not electroplating microscopic thin layers onto base metal. What they do is they take two sheets of solid gold, whether it's 10, 14, or 18, and they sandwich it onto either side of a piece of base metal, most likely brass. And then they'll either roll it really between heavy rollers and press it together, or they will stamp it and it'll press together. So there's a lot higher gold content in gold filled stuff than there is gold plated stuff. And the gold filled stuff, I generally get between 3 and 4% yield on it. So 5 pounds of gold filled, um, 2,000 grams, I'll get a couple of 100 grams of pure gold out of that, which is a pretty good payday. About 10 ounces. So it's probably going to be somewhere in between 13 and $20,000 by the time it's all done. It depends on what kind, because even Goldfield has different ranges. Some of it's pretty thin and it's 10 carat and it's 1/20th. Some of it's very heavy and it's what they call double stock. Danny Sue, I believe you mentioned that before. Those old cigarette lighters with the built-in watch movements on them, those can be pretty good. Um, they're a novelty item more or less, but they hit a couple of different collectors: the tobaccoania people and the watch collectors. Most watch collectors want at least one of those things in their collection. Tina, being consistent, it does help. There are a lot of people out there that believe in the almighty algorithm. And yeah, I believe the algorithm exists, but it's not 100% computer program run. There's a human element to it. Like if you're listing every day, there are human eyes seeing your stuff every day. So the more often you can put your items in front of living human eyes, the more chances you have of selling. JD, oh, I don't mess with the circuit boards. I know somebody that actually refines them, and he makes more money on the YouTube video he records of him doing that than he actually makes on the gold pins. So it takes a lot of circuit boards to get any gold out of them. They're basically electroplated. And not only do you have the base metal underneath the gold plated pins, you've got the circuit board and all of the solder and everything else to deal with. So it's really not a good source for scrap gold. Now, if you're in the electronics business and you've got a big dumpster and you can fill one up every month or two, yeah, that's worth it. But just it really and truly, it takes a dumpster full of those boards to get the gold out of them and make it profitable. I don't think anybody at eBay customer service knows about it, and they're not really allowed to talk about it. At least I've never gotten any of them to talk about it. Yeah, yeah, there's good money in scrapping copper if you can get a source for it. Unfortunately, that world is also eat alive with unsavory people. They break into construction and steal all the wire out. That's the easiest source for a lot of thieves. They'll break into vacant homes and strip the wires out. There's a lot of copper in AC units, so they'll steal those and strip them out. Hey, Amanda, good to see you. And you could come in with us tonight. So yeah, the scrap metals. There's a lot of unsavory people in that world. Yeah, even in the high end, like gold world, there's a lot of less than 100% honest people in that world too. Even old watch batteries, of them contain silver oxide, and there's good money in that. But there's guys who go out and they buy the batteries for 20 or 30 cents a pound. And if you're a good repair shop or a good jewelry store, you can put 10 or 15 pounds of batteries together in a fairly short period of time. And these guys come through and buy them for $20 or $30. Well, they're getting $20 to $35 per pound of watch batteries. So they're paying pennies on the dollars. But these days, it's also hard to find a refiner who will accept them. Tina, let me back up in the chat a little bit to see if I missed something there. Chris at Daily Refinement, I don't know that much about it. Apparently, a lot of people follow him and they do well with what he teaches. I tried to follow him, and quite honestly, I don't know what it was about his format. I couldn't sit through any of his videos, so I never really followed him. And I doubt we'll ever know the full story of what happened between him and eBay. But, like I've said before, specifically about him, not my monkey, not my circus. So I don't know anything about that situation. Roman, which Amanda are you talking about? You talking about our fireball flippers, Amanda, or are you talking? Well, that would kind of have to be. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you dropping that link. I am going to click on that and put it in a new tab, and I'll go check that out here in a bit. Desert Sellers. Oh, you don't have to worry about being late. I'm flying solo tonight. We're just firing from the hip. Whatever comes up, we're talking about. Our regular scheduled guest tonight, or not regular, but our person I had on the calendar, we had a little bit of a communications breakdown, snafu, whatever you want to call it, and she wasn't able to make it tonight. So we've already got her rescheduled for the 21st. Yeah, yeah. There's if you can if it's like anything else, the scrapping for or scrapping any of the metals. Uh, the more work you put into it, the more you make out. Like I said, you got to be careful in that work because there are some pretty unsavory people in there. Hey, Mary, how are you? Oops, that was a mistake. They're on the wrong thing. My mouse is a wireless mouse, and if I don't move it, it'll go to sleep, and I have to click. Sometimes it's not asleep, and I click, and it goes somewhere I'm not wanting to go. I'm doing pretty good. Getting ready to go out on the road for a couple of weeks. And we are up to 19 people watching. Amanda, I was not subscribed, but I am now. I'll be sure to watch some of your videos tonight. Yes. We've been on just over an hour. Mary, I wasn't subscribed to you either. What the heck? But I am now. All right, people, start dropping your links. Apparently I've been slacking in my following duties. That's right. I think I saw that on Instagram, Mary. Happy Picker, how are you? So, any of you guys that's got channels, drop them. I am more than happy to follow you guys. Happy Picker, I am always subscribed to you. And I have seen some of your videos. I don't know that I'm not pushing to get monetized, but hurt my feelings to become monetized. Talked about this before. I need to start doing pre-recorded videos and dropping them, and that means I have to learn how to edit. And from past experiences of trying to learn how to edit, I'm not in a huge rush to do that. So when it happens, it happens, and it's not something I don't mind the extra revenue stream. But, I don't know that it'll ever be anything huge. It's really not my goal. I just like hanging out with you guys, talking shop. I don't know how it is for the rest of the reselling world, but the resellers in my area, for the most part, are my competition. There are two or three of them that I am on good terms with. I guess you could say we're friends. We run into each other out there sourcing. We'll stop, shoot the breeze for a minute or two, but at the end of the day, they are competition. So, in order for me to have friends, be friends with other pickers, it's easier here on social media for me. Picking preachers in the house. Good to see you tonight, man. Yeah, if you guys hit me up on Instagram too. I dropped my link higher up in the chat, and if I have to, I can drop it again. Uh, if you make content, reach out to me. I'll watch it. Now, I don't watch as much reseller content as I used to. Um, I prefer being in live shows. The number one reseller content that I watch that's pre-recorded is the what sold stuff. Christopher, I know I'm already subscribed to you, but I will double check. Well, that was your Instagram. So I know I've got you on the Instagram. Grumpy Picker, good to see you tonight. Where are we at? There we are. I know there was something else I wanted to talk to you guys about tonight. That's the trouble when I have to reschedule things and I end up doing one of these by the seat of my pants, so to speak. Is I have a hard time remembering what all I wanted to talk to you about because I don't have any notes for tonight. Grumpy, not a whole lot. I had a guest that had to reschedule, so I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. We've just been shooting the breeze and hanging out and just talking about anything that gets brought up. I even forget things when I've got notes. Like last week when we had Evan Flippy McFlipperson on, I was going to show you guys this. It's it's not really an ashtray. It doesn't have the cutouts for it, but it's made out of the uranium glass and glows. Some kind of little tray. I think it may be out of one of those dresser sets or something that you get for a Father's Day gift, but this would have been back in the 40s or 50s. I don't know if that shows up on the glow or not. Yeah, it's glowing a little. I was going to bring that up and show that to him. I like finding that kind of stuff. All right, man. You have a good night. And speaking of which, it's been an hour, and I know there's something supposed to bring up, and I just can't remember what it is. I thought about it earlier today. I've only had about 2 hours to get ready to try and do a show without a guest. So I come up with an hour's worth of stuff to talk about, but no planning. So I can't complain too much. And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and call it right here. And I'll see you guys back here next week. I'll be in Nebraska, and we'll be doing the show from there. And next week's guest, I'll have to look on my calendar to be sure. Let's see. Next week will be the 14th. Yeah, we'll have Will from the Reseller Madness channel. He's a hoot. Nice person, too. I don't know if you follow him or not, but he just did a big reseller garage sale. He's the funny guy who wears like the squid shaped hat in some of his videos out when he's out picking. So next week's that's who we'll have on for a guest next week, and hopefully that'll work out because, like I said, I'll be on the road and I'm not sure about uh, how good this internet service will be there, but we're going to give it our best, and I'll see you then. So thanks everybody so much for coming in tonight, and we'll see you next week.